Today's guests didn't just build a business, they answered a personal calling. I'm honored to welcome mother-daughter duo Betty and Kristin Kemper, founders of Kemper House, residential memory care communities, and Kemper Cognitive Wellness, a clinic devoted to personalized medicine for better brain health. Together, they're redefining how we care for people who may be going down the path toward cognitive decline or already living with Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. Their journey began decades ago in long-term care and then became deeply personal when Alzheimer's touched their own family. First, with Betty's mother-in-law, Kristin's grandmother, and later her husband, Kristin's father. Refusing to accept the idea that nothing could be done, Betty and Kristin set out to challenge the status quo by combining compassionate care with innovation, research, and hope. From opening their first Kemper House in 1999 to launching Kemper Cognitive Wellness and developing successful cognitive training programs such as BrainFit, their work has transformed lives across Northeast Ohio and beyond. They're true pioneers in dementia care, and I'm very grateful to have them with us today. All right, Betty and Kristin, I really appreciate you coming on for our listeners. Thank you. How are you?
Thank you. Very good. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Well, we got to start off with Betty here. How did you become interested and involved with dementia care?
Well, first of all, let me tell you, I am a registered nurse, and I very early on in my career picked the elderly as my specialty, so to speak, and became very involved with a facility at that time. It was a home for the aged, and it was all women, etc. And that was the very beginning, which I worked at, I volunteered at until around 1980 when my mother-in-law started to show signs of forgetfulness and problems that we could not figure out what was happening. So, after taking her down to the brand new assessment center in Cleveland, Ohio, we discovered that she had probable Alzheimer's.
Mm,
And even having been with this facility for quite a few years, I knew very little about it because even though the women who lived there at the time were elderly, most of them died before their 80s,
no.
actually. And that was my first uh, tipping my toe into that whole subject at that time. And I was set out to find out as much about Alzheimer's or dementia and dementias as I possibly could, and was shocked to find out that there was nothing out there about it. Very, very little. In fact, it had only been named Alzheimer's disease a few years before that.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, it perceptively, when I started down this path looking up information, I felt like there wasn't enough information to make me comfortable with the next steps forward. That was in 2018, so I can't even imagine when you started looking and the field wasn't properly defined. Kristen, what drove you to getting involved?
Well, I in when my grandma was diagnosed, I was in college and became one of her caregivers, like in the summers or when we were home on vacation. But we had grown up at the facility where my mom was working. She always took us, there, and so we always helped the ladies. So we always had a heart for that, I guess. But we became very interested in what my grandmother was doing because we had never known anything like it, and we were trying to figure out strategies when we cared for her of how to keep her busy, what to do, how to help her remember things. So that sort of then led to my becoming a nursing home administrator, and then when we started Kemper House, I we incorporated a lot of those things that we had learned.
And Eddie, let me just say that one of the things then that kind of continued our interest was the fact that when they did the history of her family, and I learned that both my husband's grandfathers on both sides of the family had lived and died at Cleveland Psychiatric Institute and died of hardening of the arteries. And
Wow.
I thought to myself at the time, I cannot believe this. This
Yeah.
is possibly going to be in our family. And that's what really then drove me to learn as much as possible about what it was, where it was, and what could we do, because at that time, any person with diagnosed with dementia was just thrown into the long-term care uh, population, basically. And we already knew just from my
Mhm.
mother-in-law that the type of care was totally different
Yeah.
than regular long-term care.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing, and I could definitely see why that would drive you to keep uh, assembling all the information that you guys have. I mean, it reminds me of my family's long family history, going back decades in Puerto Rico, and it's the same thing. It was seen as a psychiatric dysfunction, sort of more of a mental
Right,
illness than it was a neurological decline sort of thing, and totally
right.
not equipped to deal with it. Amazing. So, Kemper House now, what makes Kemper's philosophy different?
Well, I think the biggest advantage we had is we lived it. We lived it with Helen, and then we lived it with my dad, her husband, John.
Yeah.
So we are very, as Betty says in our commercial, for us it's personal, and it really is personal. Every aspect from what they're doing to enrich their lives to what they're eating to we know all of our residents. We're in our facilities every day. That's not everybody can say that. Not every owner can say, "Oh yes, I know our residents. We're in our facilities." And we treat people as individuals.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing because you know what they say, you've met one person with Alzheimer's, you've met one person with Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And every single person is different.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
we really honor that. We try to figure out each individual's, drivers for what calms them down, what they need, what they're looking for, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's what makes us so different. Other facilities say they do that, but nobody's had the experiences we've had and nobody lives it like we do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's powerful. The lived experience definitely changes the approach. And definitely appreciate the work you're doing, because you're right. I mean, I think there's a scarcity of enough people in the medical system that are approaching patients with Alzheimer's with that level of personalization. So important. Yeah, this journey being so personal for you guys, you've referenced Helen there. Um, Betty, can you talk a little bit about your late husband John and that experience?
Yes. Well, and let me do a little bit of a comparison. So when my mother-in-law was first diagnosed, I had the privilege to be hired to develop a what they call a CC, continuing care retirement community, CCRC. And I had the ability to develop possibly one of the first units where we literally could take anyone who was diagnosed with a dementia and separate them from the rest of the long-term care population at that time, which we did and were successful at. And but before that, other than that, my mother-in-law, when she was diagnosed, the family was basically told, come back in a year. We'll measure where she's at on her journey, etc. And that was pretty much it.
Wow.
Uh, there was nothing more. And then 30 years later, when my husband was diagnosed, we were still at that same juncture. The thing that we had worked on during that time, our first goal when we first opened Kemper House was to raise the bar on how you care for someone with Alzheimer's. The way to care for them was totally different, and I had the privilege to write a program that treated them totally different than you would someone else in a situation with skilled nursing and that type of thing, or other chronic diseases. So that was what we basically did. And then we then were able to uh, move the needle along, so to speak, when
When John was diagnosed.
when John was diagnosed.
And
Exactly.
he was, so Helen was diagnosed in 79, 80. John was diagnosed officially in 2012, although we saw signs well before that.
Yeah.
And so we're thought, oh, good. We took him to the Lou Ruvo Center at the Cleveland Clinic in Las Vegas to get the state-of-the-art scans and everything. And you know what they told us? Get your affairs in order.
Yeah.
Come back in a year. We'll see how he's progressed.
Yeah.
99.6% of all medications had failed
Yeah.
to improve. And we were like, what? What? How could that be?
Yeah.
That shouldn't still be 30 years later.
Yeah. Yeah.
And millions and billions of dollars of research,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's amazing. It's amazing. And you're talking about 2012, it's 2025, and what has changed in standard of care, right? Not a whole lot, but thank goodness for people like you. So now, Krista, from your perspective, leading into that, what has changed the most in how we understand Alzheimer's and dementia today versus when you guys first opened Kemper House?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of changes. So in 99, when we took our first residents, most of them were walking and talking and very pleasantly confused and not a lot of these egregious behaviors. And it was difficult, but it was nothing like it is today. Today, we see people who are sicker and have horrendous behaviors. And this is the most scary thing. They're younger.
Yeah.
54, 53. You experienced it yourself.
Yeah.
61, and they're like advanced at that point when they come to us.
Yeah.
So that was like a true wake-up call. And we don't have studies or this or that, but we can tell you, anyone who's worked with us all these years can say, oh yeah, we know a lot of dentists have Alzheimer's dementia now that we've cared for. A lot
Yeah.
of chemists, a
Yeah.
lot of people that you worked at this plant, and then you're thinking there's something going on there.
Yeah.
Uh, those are the biggest changes, and you wonder what's driving those things to happen.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, we don't have any studies over here in the Rodriguez household either. We don't have a randomized control trial, but we've got the N of one, which is,
Right.
we've had to do a lot of lab work on my dad, and we've had to do
Yeah.
a lot of, cognoscopies, as Dr. Bredesen would say. And what do you know when you start opening up the hood and you look with the flashlight, um, there's all this glyphosate, and there's environmental toxins, and there's mercury, and there's other heavy metals, and there's gut infections, and it's just amazing that the first appointment with the neurologist, all they tested was TSH, B12, and a basic metabolic panel. And like
Yep.
you said, well, diagnose and adios, right? We'll see him
Yes.
in 6 months, but we're not gonna maybe we'll suggest a medication, but we're not going to try to find out why he has the Alzheimer's. So,
Right.
anyways, this is why I'm assuming I got to ask you guys, Kemper Cognitive Wellness, where does this come from?
Well, after my dad was diagnosed, Betty and John had 5 kids. I have 4 sisters and brothers, and we were literally thinking, "Oh my God, which one of us is next?" I mean, we've got to really look at our own health, and we didn't. I was on my own health journey then, and it was very sad. As you know, when you get the diagnosis, it's sad, it's heartbreaking. You know what's ahead of you. We knew firsthand what's ahead of us. And I talked to Betty and I said, we've got to do something. We control so much of what our residents do every day. Maybe we can do things to stop, them from going down the same path, to stop us from going down the same path. And, I said, Dad has saved all his money, all his life to enjoy his retirement, and he's not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So let's invest. We are blessed to have this business. Let's invest and try different things and see what we can do. And that led us. And then in 2017, Dr. Bredesen's book came out called The End of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And I literally called Betty. It was late at night, and I'm reading it and I'm reading it and I'm reading it. It got to be like 1 a.m. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm calling her.
She called me
And
up.
I sat up in bed. I'm like,
This
this
is
is it.
it.
This is it. We found something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was late for my dad, but because he was already pretty progressed. But I said, what if we can try some things? What if we can test him and see if any of our residents want to get tested? And so I became a recode practitioner in December of 2017 and we started in 2018
Hmm.
just testing people, just me and this a nurse that was working with us, and we started talking to them about what their history and what had happened.
Yeah.
And they were like, no one's ever asked me these questions. No one's ever spent this much time with me. Nobody's ever. And we worked with a local functional medicine doctor who would, order the test for your gut and micronutrients and things that your doctor has never looked at.
Yeah.
And so that was the start of a whole new journey for us.
Right. So
Yeah.
we founded Kemper Cognitive Wellness,
Yeah.
Yes.
and off we went.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's amazing you did that. And it's amazing that you could recognize that you had this. Well, John was the first, and then
Yeah.
you have this great environment where you can start collecting data on your own residents. And I'm sure
Right.
you guys have found a lot of common denominators and some really common strings and patterns.
Yeah. In fact, over half the residents we tested did not have the Alzheimer's gene.
Yeah.
Meant they had other risk factors, which some of them we knew. We had a prisoner of war. I mean, likely that was trauma
Yeah.
induced.
Yeah.
But also the very first person we tested was patient zero, was
Right, my
John,
husband.
Dad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we found the highest, he had a ton of metals in his system,
Yeah.
metals. And
Yeah.
he had worked in and then owned a foundry.
Yeah.
I
So
know.
he was working in a metal environment. It was,
I know.
you'd go
Yeah.
home and he'd blow his nose, it was black,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
his doctor had never even considered that possibility.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's yeah, my father was a brick and block mason for 37 years
Oh,
and exposed to a lot of construction material and concrete itself, when you cut it, releases mercury
yes.
in dust. So yeah, here's some common denominators. Really, really helpful for listeners and viewers. Um, you referenced him. How did you come to meet Dr. Nate Bergman?
Oh, well, he had just started Cleveland Clinic's Center for Functional Medicine with Dr. Mark Hyman.
Yeah.
And they were maybe 2 years in, and he was really frustrated because when it first opened, the center, you got to spend an hour and a half with each patient, you got to do all these tests, whatever you needed. Lo and behold, 2 years later, lock that down to 45 minutes, 30 if you can do it. You
Yeah.
don't want to order these tests. You only want to order these from this page of tests. So he heard about what we're doing. He said, let me come and tour. We met with him and Dr. Hyman. And he said, what if I come and tour Kemper House? And so we brought him in
Yeah.
and we told him our vision and what we were doing. And he's like, I need to come on with you guys.
Yeah.
Would
Right.
you ever consider taking me on? And we're like,
Yes.
yes, we would.
Yes. Yeah.
That's excellent. That's
Yeah.
excellent. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah, it's something where it makes you wonder what are the dynamics going on in our medical system. We know that there is no scarcity of Alzheimer's patients, and it's definitely stressing out um, the logistics, and visits are getting shorter and shorter, and it's getting harder and harder to actually get to the bottom of things. But it's great when you have an approach like yours, where you guys are, taking your time with everyone and giving that personalized approach. Um, so, how does Kemper Cognitive Wellness actually help clients with dementia prevention and reversal?
Okay, so by looking at the individual, to carry the theme over from Kemper House to Kemper Cognitive Wellness, each person has their own root causes, their own drivers of their disease,
Yeah.
their own treatment plans, their own, I've listened to many of your podcasts and all the guests say the same thing. I mean, it depends on so many, different genome sequences, blood work, whatever, gut health, all that.
Yeah.
So we really take a personalized approach,
Yeah.
and then we use precision medicine to get to the root cause instead of just treating the symptoms, which is what, modern day medicine does now.
Yeah.
I think you said it too, on one of the previous podcasts. When you go to the doctor has 15 minutes and he's thinking, what pills would I put him on? What pills? What pills? What pills? And we don't, that's not a factor for us. We're looking at over 100 biomarkers right off the bat. And each one, never have we seen one where everyone's the same. So
Yeah. 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 It's amazing. When I hear you say it, it sounds so simple, so intuitive. When I have said it, something similar to other people. You can see the light bulb go off. I have witnessed someone else tell someone else, and I witnessed them, the light bulb goes off. It's so intuitive, but not easy in application. It's getting easier the more people enter this space and the more practitioners get trained. Um, but there just seems to be so much unlearning from
yeah,
this ossified standard that is really just obsolete. But I'm so happy that you guys are doing what you're doing because every day that goes by, you're just enhancing the data set that eventually it's inevitable, right? It's
yeah,
inevitable that this is the approach that's going to be the standard.
yeah.
So that's amazing. Um, could you tell us a little bit about your BrainFit program, which is now,
Oh, yes,
gosh,
yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So based on what we experienced with my dad when he was going down the path after his diagnosis, we were looking for anything, and we found a program that would, you'd meet with the person one on one, and they would do computer games and things to try to, get your mind working better. And and he would come home and say, I really did well today. I think I got a lot of the answers and I was really doing better today. And then also we had a little boat and he would go work on the boat and he would come home, totally drenched, all sweaty, and he'd work all hours. He'd come home and be like, Betty, I feel better. I feel better. And based on that, we created this BrainFit program, which is it's a reablement program, and we it involves some technology, some neurotherapies that you use while you do some dual tasking exercise, movement, meditation, things like that, for an hour. And then your second hour is the cognitive hour, or you can reverse them, it doesn't matter, where you're doing a lot of things to get your mind, areas of your mind just like oh, more awake. And that's a different kind of technology, photobiomodulation used during that hour.
yeah.
And we have seen such amazing results. We're able to raise people's MoCA scores,
Yes.
see absolutely people like remembering going home. One gentleman said, my wife came home and emptied the dishwasher for the first time in a year and didn't even ask where anything goes. She knew exactly, she just put it all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's an amazing program. And
right.
Dr. Bergman calls it the ambulance of dementia. If you do nothing else,
Yeah.
get into BrainFit.
Yeah.
And we're at Brain Boot Camp.
Yeah.
We have an online program.
And
Yeah.
Eddie, I have actually been able to say, I believe that I have seen the first
Yeah.
survivor of dementia,
Yep.
Alzheimer's disease.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Right.
Wow. That-
Really?
That's amazing. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Oh,
Well, I'm not going to say that we
Oh, I think I know
no,
where this is going.
no, no, no. No, no.
no,
Dr. Bergman will say we won't say we can cure it.
right.
It's like cancer. Like you go into
Sure.
remission and you stop, but we can re-able people.
Absolutely.
Always have some deficits, but your body and brain are amazing, and you can work to
Absolutely.
learn to work around those things. And we have people living very well with dementia
Yeah.
instead of going down the hill.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, no, I love it. I totally get it. And being in the medical field, I know that there's some limitations around language. But it's like, who cares about the labels when the person is more functional, enjoying
Correct.
life,
Oh, correct.
Yeah,
Right.
and just interacting with the environment and the people around them, and
Yes.
everyone is in a better place. That's what matters, whatever you
that's
call it,
right. Yeah,
reablement and
Yeah.
healing, whatever it is. So it's amazing that you guys can really uh, personalize these programs, key on what actually works and moves the needle. I love
Yeah.
this BrainFit program that you guys have, and I see it as another inevitability of this being a standard going forward,
Yes.
because
That's, yeah.
it's if you truly have the intention of helping someone and treating someone with dementia, helping them live with more dignity and functionality, then this is the kind of program that's necessary. So
Yes.
that's
right,
Yes.
that's
right.
And
amazing.
we're taking what we learned from Dr. Bredesen's protocol plus our 30 years, almost 30 years in dementia care and Dr. Bergman's, experience and knowledge. And we're applying some of that to Kemper House and
Yeah,
bringing the reablement program there.
Yeah,
We're actually seeing wonderful results. Like a
yeah,
resident who really nobody knew he
yeah,
talked,
yeah,
is coming up and saying, I want football on TV instead of going up
yeah,
and hitting you.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
really good. Or I know this is so stupid, but some of a resident who came into the BrainFit, the little, we call it BrainFit Club there,
yeah,
remembered she brought a jacket and
yeah,
she took a jacket, or she took herself to the bathroom and came back to the room.
yeah,
right.
Those
yeah,
are all wins.
big
And
time.
then we're experimenting with other things. Again, I don't have a published study,
Yeah,
but we at one of our buildings, we took everybody off of, with the family's permission. So a couple people did not participate. We changed the diet,
yeah,
took people off of refined sugars, any inflammatories, dairies, things like that. And we saw our residents, waking up after
yeah,
lunch. They didn't fall asleep on the table.
yeah,
And remembered a staff member had not been there all weekend.
yeah,
And they were remembering names and participating more in programs.
yeah,
So now we're trying to incorporate more of that in.
yeah,
And it just keeps them a little bit more, I don't want to say independent, but they can do a little more for themselves longer
yeah,
than if you just let them go down the path.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, this is tremendous. I'm hearing you talk, and one thing that kind of hits me is, you know, you guys were very much the pioneers of taking what you were learning throughout your careers, but then cross-referencing that with Bredeson's protocol, and then started implementing it into your home, into this assisted living environment. And I think about, this protocol. It's been like 11 years now in practice, and all this data is being collected, but it kind of moves slowly when you have small studies, but they're necessary, right? We need to get small studies to get bigger studies. And then we have a lot of participants that are doing this on their own, and we know that compliance is a challenge, especially when we're trying to do this alone. We need family members. We're doing this at home, right? So
Yeah.
we decided to all move in together to be a three-generational home, and
Oh,
this is like a recode home for us, and then we all practice it, and but that's the rare thing. What's great is in an environment like yours, you can collect data at a much faster clip because
yes, we
you have much
can.
more control over the environment.
It
Um,
can.
it's amazing. Um, can you actually really quickly go back to the diet, because this is huge. What changes did you guys make to the dietary menu for your residents?
Oh gosh. Well, just like I said, we took refined sugars. We did this. We found a chef. First, we found a chef that would work with us and believed in what we wanted to do. One of our biggest stumbling blocks is finding people to want to try new things or do things differently. And I almost feel, Eddie, especially since COVID, we've become almost more polarized. So you have the people that want to try everything and believe that something could change, and you have the people that just let it go, let them eat ice cream every day and don't just let
Yeah,
it go.
Yeah.
Let them have pleasure.
Yeah.
Um, but are you having pleasure if you're so inflamed, you're in pain all the time and you're taking more,
Yeah. Yeah.
so so uh we did it in January, which we should never have done. We stopped serving sugar almost overnight. We
Yeah.
prepared and then we changed our menu. We stopped serving sugar, serving dairy, gluten, limited our gluten, used things like real ginger ale, like boiled ginger with, seltzer water in it. And we had 2 weeks of wild behaviors. And we
Yeah.
were like, yeah, we were like, what's happening? And afterwards, we realized they were in withdrawal. We didn't
Withdrawal.
know. It was after
Yeah.
the
Right.
holidays.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
true.
So that was a big thing. And we have a pretty, a decent exercise program at that building. Um, but what we saw are people, were sleeping better. People were, like I said, more awake, our use of PRN pain medications and laxatives. You didn't need them. We're almost, I would say 98% we can get people off of their insulin dependence. I don't think I can say cure diabetes, but
Sure.
they're no longer diabetic. The frustrating part is the doctors won't take them off their metformin or their cholesterol pills,
Right.
even
Right.
though their levels have normalized. You're like,
Right.
ah, ha, ha.
Yeah.
And then, this is I think it's a good side effect. We saw people having better, shorter deaths,
Yeah.
meaning they didn't just go to bed for 2 weeks so that was like a unexpected pleasant side
Bonus.
effect, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so that again, we didn't document but if I tell you what happened and can show you the resonance and you'd be like, oh, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that. I don't need to read a 12-page study that's been handed down from person to person and changed
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's been a plus. And then adding in the reablement component
Yeah.
has been very, very helpful. And I should have mentioned at the start, one of the things we did when we opened Kemper House is we started having adult daycare
Yeah.
mixed in with our population because people weren't ready to come into Kemper House, move in yet,
Yeah.
but their caregiver needed a break.
Yeah.
And so we now are incorporating the reablement into the day friend, we call them, program, and we're trying to get people to stay home longer with their caregiver while giving their caregiver a break,
Yeah.
much needed break. It's less expensive for them.
Yeah.
It's a much needed service, I think.
Which seems counterintuitive
Yeah.
from the fact that we own and manage two facilities for dementia care.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Kristen and I agreed long time ago, if we ended up closing our facility because of the programs that we have been able to come up with, it would be worth it.
If people didn't have to move in there because they had
Yeah,
Alzheimer's and
that's
dementia.
right.
Hey, that's a very, very noble aim and very forward thinking. And yeah, I love this. I mean, geez, you check in and you reverse. Oh, let's be careful with the language. But
Yeah.
That's
uh,
right.
you know, uh, you no longer have diabetes. You no longer, have some of the cognitive deficits that you walked in with. I mean, who wouldn't want that? Sign me up, right? I mean, where can you get those sorts of results in other places where you're, you know, uh, I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, it's even hard to do that walking into some place like the Cleveland Clinic.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's a testament to what you guys are all working on. Um, so this, can you tell us a little bit about this Live Well with Dementia course?
Oh yeah, Live Well with Dementia was we opened our Dr. Bergman came on with us in 2019 and we worked out of one of our facilities for that year while we looked for a place to an office and we found a great office and we opened it in March of 2020.
Oh,
Literally
yep,
2 days, the week we opened, the nation shut down.
yep,
So we're like, oh my gosh, how are we going to get this? Is after the initial couple months of shock about it, well, how are we going to get what we want to tell everyone across to everybody? So we had a person we had worked with film us, each of us, telling some of the key parts of what to do to live well with dementia. Because that's essentially what we're trying to do at Kemper House and at Kemper Cognitive Wellness. We may not be able to extend your life, but we can try to make the rest of your life better, you
Yes.
know? And that's what we're trying to do with Live Well with Dementia. It gives people the answers. It's not individualized because we say in there, get this tested, get that tested, but it really lays out a plan from, pre-diagnosis to diagnosis or to I need to find a place for my loved one. What should I look for? What
Yeah.
about hospice? Just things like that. End to end, basically dementia care.
Yeah. Yeah. Super helpful. We need more information like that out there and have it accessible to people. So we'll definitely link all these resources in the description box below. Um, you shared a few, but any other standout moments for residents or clients that you have that kind of come up for you?
Yeah. Well, we just did a podcast, and I think it's on our website, not a podcast, a webinar online, with a couple that absolutely they will tell you his dementia is, reversed or
Yeah.
cured.
Yeah.
He is living well in the community, remembers faces now, does much better. He's been working with Dr. Bergman for, I'm going to say 2.5 years. He's actively participates in the BrainFit program. He also does the neurotherapies that we do in our office, which is transcranial direct stimulation, uh, PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic
Frequency.
uh, frequency, and various light therapies, photobiomodulation. And Dr. Bergman said, well, this works and this works. So what happens if we combine them? And
Yeah.
we've had great success with things like concussions and even old concussions,
Wow.
changes in the brain. We do a QEEG brain map
Yeah.
so we can see where the low energy parts of the brain are. So it's a more thorough, treatment than you would get,
Yeah.
almost anywhere else in our mainstream system.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a few things that I tell all my friends.
Yeah.
If you are worried about memory loss or possible symptoms, uh, don't don't give up. Yes, of course, go to your doctor,
Yep.
Mhm.
but don't give up. There is something you can do now.
Yeah.
That's the main message because for all those years, the message was there's nothing we can do.
Right.
There is something you can do. So that's one of my main messages. And the second thing is, for me, I would tell everyone to get tested.
Yes.
Get tested so
Yeah.
you know your own body.
Yeah.
Again, this is all individualized. It's not the normal, regular testing that your doctor does
Yeah.
at your annual physical. It's a little more than that. It's not expensive relatively.
Yeah.
It's so much better to understand what is going on with your body and what your possibilities are, because then you can deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's such a stigma about dementia, Alzheimer's,
Hmm.
Parkinson's, and all that. When
Yes.
you when you get a diagnosis of cancer,
Yeah.
you have a chance of survival, because you could go into remission.
Yeah.
And people bring you casseroles and they celebrate you and
Yeah.
you can, wear a pink ribbon or whatever. But
Yeah.
when you get diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia or even Parkinson's, it's a stigma of embarrassment and your
Yeah.
friends go away because they don't know how to act. And
Yeah.
literally Betty's friend who was going down the path is at their lunch group and they're like, Betty, don't bring her back next time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And she experienced that with my dad. I mean, her
yeah,
friends really fell away.
right.
And I get that, but that just makes it worse,
We
Yeah.
need to eliminate that.
Yes.
It again, and as Kristen just said, if you had a cancer
Yeah.
diagnosis, would you sit back and say, "Oh, I'm too embarrassed to do anything about this or talk about it"? No, of course not. So why can't we feel the same way about
Yeah.
dementia diagnosis?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, yeah, tremendous insight there. And you're exactly right. And I think what we're doing, what you guys are doing on your end, what I'm doing, what others are doing, Um, we're all doing different things, kind of playing different instruments, but something that we all kind of play a melody on is working to raise that awareness and shift the mindset around this to remove that stigma because all of us want not only our own family members that we care deeply about, but we want everybody to be healthy. And for decades, um, dementia was stigmatized as a death sentence and a very painful one, as people have languaged it to be. Um, but you're right, cancer has been associated with a risk of death, but also the probability of also curing, being cured or being, put into remission. And because there's such lack of awareness that there are things that can be done for dementia, there are these Alzheimer's survivors, and there are these great success stories, and you can live well with it. Um, it seems to be something that gets procrastinated on, and we know that time is of the essence. The faster we get tested, the faster we can identify those root cause triggers. We can start working on them, and the faster we can get better. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up because it's important we remove the stigma and we keep raising awareness that something can be done, so that if someone, look, my dad struggled, he isolated himself, he knew that he was going to slip up, and I'm sure you guys have experienced that too. And we want to be able to, before people start to isolate and make their world smaller, make it okay for them to ask for help. Because
Right.
there are tools, and there are
Yes.
great people like you doing great work. Um, what would you tell all the care partners and caregivers out there?
I,
Good.
other than get tested and do something, I mean, definitely, don't give up. Definitely try to do something. If you can't find a doctor that supports what you're doing, find another doctor, find another, friend group or support group. We often hear in people say, "Oh, I went to that support group and they just told me, no, there's nothing you can do. You have to accept it." And that's really discouraging. That's not true. My number one rule for caregivers is save yourself. It's save yourself. I told my mom,
Yes.
even when we were going down this journey with my dad, if something happens to you, you're not going to get to guide what happens to dad. So you've got to save yourself because we had care in the home coming in to help her. He didn't want that person to see him naked. So she was trying to shower him. She had a bad heart valve, needed heart surgery. She was going to kill herself.
Yeah.
And I was like, that we got to stop this. We got to stop. Save yourself. We've had so many spouses and caregivers bring their loved one into Kemper House, and we had one woman drop on our front walk and had a heart attack. Call 911. That caregiver stress is so real.
Yeah.
And but if you can find an adult day program, there's no shame in having them in a facility because then you have some time to yourself, but you can be a husband, a daughter, a son,
Yeah.
and still drive that care. But if you don't save yourself, then you don't even know what's going to happen to your loved one.
Yeah.
And all the work you put in is, for naught potentially.
Yeah.
So that's my number one rule.
Yeah.
Some things that I also that come up a lot in support group is, don't argue with the person with dementia. You can't reason with them. So just validate what they're trying to say
Yeah.
and redirect them to something else. Hopefully that helps. And find a support group that helps you or find a support team, like look in your circle. We found somebody, of a friend's dad was retired, and he would take my dad for a couple hours driving in the valley and driving around looking at his old house and just things reminiscing.
Yeah.
And that gave her 2 hours to
Yeah.
herself.
Yeah.
So just, keep going, keep fighting, and you have resources out there. You can contact us and or almost a lot of the people that you've done a podcast with, their journey, they would
Right.
participate too.
Yeah. 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 No, great. Great. Thank you. Yeah, no, this is great. Caregiving is something that is not an easy path, but it is rewarding in ways, and but it takes a lot of work. So I appreciate you um sharing those insights. Uh, to anyone who's skeptical to even entertaining the idea that something can be done, Um, and they're skeptical and a little bit hesitant to starting to work on a lifestyle treatment program like the Bredesen protocol or like BrainFit or like any of these tools that you all provide. What would you have to say to them?
I mean, I would say do something rather than nothing. If you do nothing, you know what your trajectory is. You know what the path is forward. But if you try anything, if even if it's going online and doing a brain game, even if it's forcing yourself to go to a mall and walk around or the library and just see if you can get some, socialization or some programs. If it's one of your podcasters said 10 steps, just take 10 steps and then the next day take 10 more,
Yeah.
um, do something rather than nothing. A lot of times people come to us and say, well, I'm not going to give up drinking.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to give up sugar. Well, I'm not going to give up this. That's fine. Like Dr. Bredesen said, there's 36 holes in your roof. Plug 18 of them and you'll be better.
Yeah.
You don't do everything.
Right.
And that's what we would say. Just try something. Try
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And my most frequent answer, because I do have my friends who will say, I don't want to know. Because such a proponent of getting tested.
Yeah.
And I go back to the cancer example.
Yeah.
So if you are diagnosed tomorrow with cancer, would you say the same thing? Oh, I'm not going to do anything. I don't want to know anything more about it. Well, now almost to a person, they always say, oh, of course. Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Yes, this is real.
Yeah.
This is real. Do something about it.
That's
Do
right.
something.
That's right. That's right. Do something about it. There's plenty of tools.
Yeah.
Uh, we're all working hard here to make more of those tools accessible. But
Yes.
grab onto something, grab onto a tool, and there's plenty of tools and people like yourselves that can meet you where you're at and help you, one step at a time. Um, how would you guys like to see standard of care change specifically for dementia care?
Ugh. Uh, um, it really needs to be focused more on either root cause or prevention or
Precision medicine.
yeah, N of one
Yeah.
individualized treatment.
Yeah.
It's this is they've had 40 years and over 40 years, and not one drug has had success. And even the ones they have out now, which have horrible side effects, it's a very minimal result. And so we need to stop looking at beating, the definition of insanity. Do the same thing, expect different results.
Yeah.
They've been doing the same thing for 40 years, and they're just hoping something changes. So
Yeah.
change a reimbursement system.
Right.
If they would cover, if Medicare
Right.
or would cover BrainFit,
Yeah.
you'd have less falls at home, less emergency room visits, less money out that they would have to spend on you.
Yeah.
Cover some basic testing, just cover it, and then, but so I would say that needs to change too, the reimbursements and how they're driven
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just active.
We don't talk about that enough on this podcast, but that you hit the nail right on the head. Um, that's the biggest thing right there, right? Because even people who I've talked to who have been very curious about the protocol or something like this, and they look at what it entails. I'm sure you guys have heard a lot of the time, well, I'm concerned about the cost. These concerns of cost would be eliminated if the majority of the overhead, which is what we know is it's the testing, it's all these things that insurance should reimburse,
Right.
but does not at this present moment. But the only way that historically happens, you know, how does a 17-year gap, on average gap, get closed between, breakthrough clinical trial to it being covered by insurance? It happens through proliferation of awareness.
Right.
Because if we don't build awareness, there won't be any advocacy. If there's no advocacy, there's no lobbying, and dollars won't be redirected. So,
Yeah.
so you're exactly right. I mean, if we think about this with no limitations, that's where we're going. We need these reimbursed by insurance, and we need an insurance system that is incentivizing healing and
Yes,
restoration of health and function as opposed to endless management of whack-a-mole symptoms with
correct.
very profitable widgets we call pharmaceuticals. But hey,
Yeah,
nothing against pharmaceuticals, they save lives. But I think you're right. Over-reliance on them
yeah.
with being blind to root cause triggers may not be the best strategies going forward.
Oh, yeah. And I would say too, I mean, people come to us a lot and say, well, I can't afford that. And I say, can you afford not to? Because you're spending thousands of dollars a year on medication and supplements,
Yeah,
but is that really what you need?
yeah,
Because if you just spend, our you could do our just get tested, our micronutrient program for, I don't know, $400, whatever it is,
yeah,
and you would save that in supplementation in 2, 3 months.
yeah,
And a good example I tell people is my dad, who was in Kemper House for a long time. We had one of the early people that we tried to help. We helped. He, in 5 years with us, spent about, and he tried everything. That family was very committed. They tried everything. They spent with us less than 60,000.
yeah,
My dad at Kemper House spent over 60,000 in 1 year.
yeah,
In 1 year.
yeah,
So all this money that they had saved,
yeah,
and yes, he had long-term care insurance, and that's why we charged him before you get comments saying, "Why would you charge your own father?"
yeah.
So you can you afford not to? All that money you're saving. We have a client who said, he wasn't going to come to us for years, and then his kid said, "Dad, we don't want your money. All the money you're saving,
Yeah,
why don't you help yourself?" And he's been able to stay out of any facility
yeah,
for 5 or 6 years now.
yeah,
He was one of our first participants in BrainFit,
yeah.
and that's very compelling. So can you afford not to is the answer.
right.
It is. It really is. It really is when it comes um to this disease. Um, so what's one step every listener or viewer should take after finishing this interview to improve their cognitive and brain health?
Oh, I would again do something, anything, whatever it is, even if it's brain boot camp. What are you going to say?
I want to say, call us.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Call us.
yeah,
yeah,
We will help you to
yeah,
the best of our ability.
yeah.
yeah,
Even
Absolutely.
if they just get live well with dementia, or we have a brain boot camp
Yeah.
online, $75 a month. You get 4 classes, and you get them emailed to you if you can't do them live.
yeah,
I mean, that's a dual tasking. That's a very challenging, good brain and body workout. It's not over challenging,
yeah,
but do something. Just focus on the 4 pillars: diet, exercise, sleep, stress.
yeah,
I did want to mention too, we were one of 6 sites across the United States that participated in the event, the
yeah.
dementia reversal trial.
Yes.
And those results are very, very, very exciting.
Yeah,
They're coming out in January. They hope to get them out.
yeah,
And Dr. Bredesen is doing a podcast with us, or a live virtual event on January 19th. And
yeah,
people can ask Dr. Bergman or Dr. Bredesen questions, actually.
yeah,
That was proof, further proof to us from what we saw
yeah,
that this is one of the best things you can do. It surpassed, both of the medications, the success they had that are approved now, even Dean Ornish's study
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
others. So
Yeah.
personalized precision medicine is everything. It's truly the future.
Yes.
Um, just they haven't caught up to us yet.
That's it. That's it. But it will happen. It will happen. The more people are aware, um, the system is unfortunately not going to change without profit incentives changing, and
Right.
profit incentives don't change on the supply side
Right.
until demand starts clamoring for
Correct.
supply to change.
Yes.
Right.
And and if everyone knew, if the skepticism was removed and everyone knew that there's something you can do for dementia,
Yeah.
it'd be a stampede. And
Absolutely.
it's happening, right? Because
Yes.
this is such a painful, most of us who have had one person with Alzheimer's in their family have had multiple people in their family. So
Yeah.
we've seen that trajectory. So I love what you guys are doing. I was going to ask you about you guys being a site, one of the 6 sites there for the Evanthea trial. That's going to be really exciting. And really looking forward to that coming out, and we'll try to make that webinar with you guys. Um, last piece here, and yes, call call Betty and Kristin. These are
Yeah,
very there is a relatively small group of these committed, amazing individuals who are doing tremendous work, who are boots on the ground, actually working to help people restore cognition, restore functionality. They're a
yeah,
wealth of knowledge. They're battle hardened, and the group is growing little by little, thankfully. Uh,
yes. It's,
but lean on people with amazing experience like Betty and Kristen. Where can people find you and your resources?
we're KemperWellness.com, and we actually have a little quiz you can take to see if you are right when it comes up. It's anonymous. KemperWellness.com or 216-337-1400 or KemperHouse.com is our Kemper House site.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for making the time. I know you're busy and you're
Okay.
doing
This is
amazing work. Really
thank
appreciate
you.
you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
thank
For
you
getting us
so
all
much.
together.
Right,
yeah, yeah,
exactly. Don't
yeah,
stop what you're doing.
Yes.
yeah.
You,
Thank you,
we
thank you.